Hello everyone, Mason here. How are you doing? Today it's time for another original tag. Allow me to introduce the Wishful Thinking book tag, where we talk about things that aren't going to happen, but we wish they would. Before we get into the prompts, it's time for the tags, and as always I feel the need to say that if you don't feel like doing this, then don't feel obligated. I'm going to tag Lady Jane Books, Alicia Reads and Rambles, Chris Reviews, Rachel's Reading Nook, Hufflepuff Discovery, Epic Tales, Sean Holt and Pay from Attention, because absolutely everyone in every tag ever should always tag Pay to kick off his existential dread. This goes out to anyone who ends up doing this tag. I'm genuinely looking forward to seeing what you come up with. So without any further ado, let's get to it. Number 1. Legacy. Is there an author you wish was still alive today to witness the impact of their work? It's no secret that I'm a crime connoisseur, a thriller fanatic. Crime is my favourite genre in any medium. I return to it time and time again, and I suspect that I will always have a love for it, and so I got thinking about its most influential names. I think it's hard to argue with the fact that crime as a genre, and detective fiction in particular, wouldn't exist in the form that it does today without the influence of Arthur Conan Doyle, who died 91 years ago in 1930. Sherlock Holmes. Everybody knows his name, and most would say that he is fiction's greatest detective. Whilst he was already popular at the time of Conan Doyle's death, that popularity has only grown, and his influence is massive, spreading to all corners of the crime genre. The word deduction is synonymous with that character. There have been countless adaptations. Even within the last 20 years, we've seen massive stars like Robert Downey Jr. and Benedict Cumberbatch play the role. Even characters like Gregory House, who isn't a detective, is a character that is inspired by Holmes. And there's the impact on literature, which is probably immeasurable. So many authors have been inspired to write and taken influences from Sherlock, whether they go on to write an actual Sherlock Holmes story or just create a character influenced by him. If you have a character that is blunt, observant, hyper-intelligent and arrogant, they are going to have comparisons to Sherlock, especially if they're a detective. It'd be so fascinating to have the opportunity to show Arthur Conan Doyle the impact he's had on the world, on literature, on popular culture. I would personally love to know what his thoughts would be. You also can't discount the impact of Agatha Christie. Most people know who Poirot and Miss Marple are. In fact, those characters are instrumental to me liking the crime genre. Whilst I haven't personally gotten around to reading anything by Agatha Christie yet, my nanan loves Poirot and Marple, and she is the person I credit with gifting me the love of the crime genre. Visiting my grandparents' house as a kid, there was always a crime drama playing in the background. I find it impossible to read or watch anything crime related and not think of my nanan, who I know will probably listen to this at some point, so love you, nanan. Interestingly, whilst making this video, I did some research into what is considered the first detective story, which it turns out is Edgar Allan Poe's The Murders in the Rue Morgue. I'll be honest, I'm not that familiar with Poe's work. In fact, I'm not at all familiar. He's not as influential in the UK as he is in the US, where I know lots of people had to study his work in school. I did, however, find it fascinating that he's credited with that first detective story, and I'm now reading it. At the time of recording, I haven't read that much yet. However, what I do find incredibly intriguing is that despite the fact that it was published 46 years before A Study in Scarlet, in the short time I've been reading it, I can already see that the character of Dupont is Sherlock-esque. In fact, the first thing that we see him do is rattle off some deductions, and now I am absolutely fascinated to know whether Arthur Conan Doyle read The Murders in the Rue Morgue. So yeah, in summary, my answers to this question are Arthur Conan Doyle, Agatha Christie, and Edgar Allan Poe. I would love to see what the three of them would think of the impact they've had on a genre that I love and on the world in general. Number 2. The Memory Wipe. Which book or series do you wish you could forget? Either so you could experience it again for the first time, or forget completely. This is a concept that me and my partner talk about a lot. We both love to revisit stories multiple times. You become familiar with the iconic moments. You notice things that you didn't the first time around. A good story has layers that you can unpick, and each time you experience it, you have a new perspective. However, I do feel that there's nothing quite like that first time, when you have no idea what's going to happen. You're just along for the ride, rolling with the punches, experiencing the highs and the lows. We often say we wish there was some sort of pill that would make us forget so we can have that first time again. I'm not gonna lie, my solid answer for this is not a book, it's a TV show, and it is without a doubt Bones. I love that show. I watched it at least 4 or 5 times now, maybe more. There are so many great moments, and I'm not gonna lie, it would be amazing to have the opportunity to experience them all for the first time again. In terms of a book though, it would probably have to be a recent read. The first time through Sweet Pea by CJ Skews was a unique experience, and as much as I want to revisit it knowing what happens, I would also love to be on that wild ride again. I do wonder though, what if I just didn't enjoy it? I take the pill, I read the book or watch the series again, and for some reason, I just hate it. I would absolutely suck. Number 3. Destiny. Which character do you wish had a different fate? For this, I think I'd definitely have to go with Natasha Joseph from Rachel Abbott's Stranger Child. I formed a strong emotional connection with Natasha. Nobody should have to go through the things that she goes through, especially not a child. Seeing the world through her eyes was an emotional gut punch, and I found myself desperately wanting things to just work out for the best. I also have to say Arthur Morgan. I don't care whether it's a video game, Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of my favourite stories of all time, and I wish things had worked out differently for Arthur. Nothing would have made me happier than for him to just go and live on the farm with John at the end. Number 4. Namesake. If a character was going to be named after you, what kind of person would you wish for them to be, and what sort of story would you want them to be in? Considering I came up with this question, I'm struggling to answer it. The easy option is some sort of detective, but I don't want to just go for the obvious. You know, even though I'm not that much of a fantasy guy, I do think dragons are pretty cool, so some sort of sarcastic, wisecracking dragon companion, that'd be pretty awesome. Mason the Dragon. Yeah, I like the sound of that. Swooping into battle, taking down enemies, throwing out one-liners, keeping the main character safe. I could definitely get behind that. Number 5. Collectibles. Which fictional object do you wish you could own? I've mentioned it before, but I was a huge Doctor Who fan when the new series started, and I thought the 9th Doctor was so cool. I can't tell you how many hours I spent on the internet looking for replica leather jackets, and I once found one, but it was mega expensive, so give me that jacket and I'll be happy. Either that or give me a teleporter, because honestly, I'm lazy and I hate walking anywhere, so it would be super convenient to be able to click a button and be wherever I wanted to be. Honestly, I've always loved the idea of being able to teleport or stop time. I was one of those kids that really wanted Bernard's watch. There's a 90s reference, eh? In terms of an object from a book, I'd probably go with Gandalf's staff, because honestly I have no idea what that thing does and I want to find out. Number 6. the reset button. Which book or series do you wish was written by a different author? One of the biggest disappointments this year has been Truth and Lies by Caroline Mitchell. And I know that I've mentioned it multiple times, but I just don't understand how you take a story where there's a detective who's the daughter of a notorious serial killer and you get that so wrong. After reading the Sweet Pea series and seeing how good of a job CJ Skews does with serial killer material, I would absolutely love to see how Truth and Lies would have turned out if she'd been the author instead. Well, that's it. Those were my answers, and I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. If you've enjoyed this video, the like and subscribe buttons are just sitting there, waiting to be pressed. And if you know what's good for you, you'll press them, or else. If you want to get in touch, say hi and have a chat, then you know where the comment section is, or you can find the link to my Twitter in the description. Thanks ever so much for spending time with me today, guys. Until next time, take care. For now I'm off, and you should have a good one.